What's going on, guys? It's Char here. You know the drill. We got a new article. We were alluded to this. We have the Marvel Champions Jessica Jones Hero Pack. Let's just get into it. First reactions, analysis, and everything in between. 28th of May, 2026, we have On the Case, the first look at the Jessica Jones Hero Pack. Let's get to it. Gotcha. Jessica Jones. She's punching a hole through a wall here. I know nothing about the defenders really, so maybe she has super strength or something. I do not know. Briefly known as the costumed hero Jewel, Jessica Jones' life came to a screeching halt when the supervillain Purple Man kept her as a psychically controlled prisoner for 8 months. Wow, that's crazy. Once she managed to escape this abuse, she built Alias Investigations to help those with nowhere else to go. Now, she and her husband Luke Cage are splitting their time between fighting the good fight and raising their baby girl, Danielle Danny Cage. Fantasy Flight Games is proud to announce the Jessica Jones Hero Pack for Marvel Champions, the card game. As a stalwart member of the Defenders, Jessica Jones enters the fray with the expansion pack, which introduces her as a new playable hero alongside her 16 signature cards, paired with a pre-built Justice deck, which everyone assumed this was going to be a Justice deck, but it's interesting. Daredevil and Jessica are Justice, so that's the one that we're doubling up on this wave. I think there's another one that has to be doubled up on to aid her in thwarting the villain schemes, and you'll be able to wield Jessica Jones' impressive detective skills and equally impressive strength from the moment you open the box, with the unique ability to defeat the villain outright purely through thwarting. What? Jessica Jones being a totally new playstyle to the game. So she does have this support permanent here. It's her investigations. This is her hero card and all her cards. We will read through these as they come up. Usually I try guessing, but usually all these cards are shown. 3 Thwart stat, that is very exciting for me, reading that on the card. Alright, let's go for it. Gathering evidence. As a superpowered private eye, Jessica Jones takes a different approach to hero work compared to the rest of her peers. So let's read this. 6 hand size, 11 hit points. That's pretty beefy. And 4 recovery. That's like pretty hard to take down. Hero side, 5 hand size, 11 hit points. 3 thwart, 2 attack when defense. Also, Bruno Friend art looks amazing as normal. I love his art on the game, and it only gets better, it feels like. Civilian, incognito mode, action, change to hero form. Whoa. You cannot change back to alter ego form this phase. So you can just take a dip down to alter ego for a short period of time and then flip back up. But you can't use it to go to hero and end your turns in alter ego over and over. Set up, put the alias investigation support in play. What an interesting action. I wonder what we're going to alter ego for. Defender, gather evidence. So there's a star icon on every single one of the basic abilities. Kind of reminds me of Shuri here. After you use a basic power placement evidence counter on alias investigations, these things rarely end well. This different approach is already present when you look at her alter ego form, which puts her signature permanent support card, alias investigations, into play. Let's read this. So it is a dash, alias investigations, location, permanent. Response. After a side team is defeated, exhaust this card. Place 2 evidence counters here. Then you may remove evidence counters from here equal to the villain's remaining hit points to defeat the villain's current stage. What? You may remove evidence counters from here equal to the villain's remaining hit points to defeat the current stage. It's really interesting. Sorry, new just up bright and early for me. This is really interesting. It seems like something that would be really strong in like a solo perspective, where I think maybe their turn count's a bit higher, or you want to actually find side schemes to defeat. Because in a multiplayer game, the HP might be so high that you're not really ever popping the villain. Maybe it comes to your turn as a Jessica Jones player, you have like 10 counters on this, that you deal a little bit of damage and then you flip down. You remove the counters to do the rest, or you opt to just leave them building the entire game. But at that point, you guys are probably going to win the game anyways. So like even if you had the game like 20, 30 counters, I don't know how you're really not have the villain. Maybe there's other ways to speed up these counters. Obviously, we have ways that speed them up with readies up here, which is really good. It's just kind of like meta scaling, right? You start off with this big kind of energy channel in play on your alter ego investigation that you don't need to spend anything to get out. And for things that you usually want to do to win the game, which is like thwarting, attacking, and stuff like that, you're building up excess damage, which seems very strong. In her hero form, she can place evidence counters on Alias Investigations each time she uses a basic power. Since there's no limit to the number of times you can do this per phase, being able to ready your identity with cards like Breakthrough becomes especially important to her game plan. Let's read this. Zero cost event Breakthrough. After an evidence counter is placed on Alias Investigations, ready your identity. Okay, she has a 1 cost or like a 1 expected resource of ready, which is really crazy. Shovel this card into your deck. Wow, that seems really good. You can ready even after defending, right? Because it's a response. Oh, that seems pretty good to me. Tell me more, Jessica Jones. Of course, Jessica's basic powers aren't the only way she can add counters to the investigations. For starters, the card itself can gain some counters once you defeat a side scheme. Makes sense. It ties in with kind of the core box ally. Give you even more incentive to take them out, thanks to your alter ego ability, which might make some player side scheme custody battles a bit, but I think most people will let the Jessica do it just to build up those counters. Thanks to our alter ego ability Incognito mode, Jess can flip down and make use of cards like Snooping Around without losing any momentum. I assume this is an alter ego only card. It's a 0 cost alter ego only action. Remove 4 threat from a scheme and place 2 evidence counters on Alias Investigations. Discard the top card of the encounter deck. If that card is a minion or a side scheme, reveal it. So Snooping Around, and sometimes you get into trouble if it's a minion or side scheme, but if it's a treachery, you're off scot-free for 4 threat removal and 2 evidence counters. That is a crazy efficient card. It kind of reminds me of Doom from Slay the Spire 2. You guys might not have played that, but this kind of ticking time bomb of the evidence counters just going up and up and up essentially mean that, you know, at one point you will be able to knock out the villain if you're getting the cards up fast enough. If Snooping Around reveals a minion or side scheme, simply use Incognito mode to flip back to hero form, take out that minion side scheme relying on circumstantial evidence, or stake out to get even more counters. This is like a Ironheart type vibe here with building up counters. A 1 cost upgrade item, circumstantial evidence, and we have an item card, Jubilee Synergy. After an enemy is defeated, exhaust circumstantial evidence, place 1 evidence counter on Alias Investigations. This is just a 1 cost upgrade that ticks up 1 damage every turn. Pretty interesting. Nice find. That'll come in handy. Daredevil. Or Stakeout. So she has a lot of these 0 cost cards. 0 cost upgrade. Tactic. If this card is in your play area, attach it to a non-permanent encounter side scheme. Interrupt. When a character thwarts attached scheme, that thwart removes 2 additional threat. If that thwart defeats attached scheme, place 2 evidence counters on Alias Investigations. So this is to kind of get rid of those kind of custody battle type things, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's like one of those things to, oh, so you can leave it. Okay, so I understand how this card works. It's a way to get across people thwarting side schemes out of turn. You throw the stakeout down. Let's say you're going 4th in a turn, right? You have this action in your play area. Then you call this action, whether hero and alter ego, to move it to a side scheme. This is a really clever way to kind of fix that out of turn problem. And then now it's attached to that side scheme. If someone defeats it or needs 2 extra threat to defeat it, and then it defeats it with the stakeout, now Jessica gets those evidence counters rather than needing to rely on her clearing the side team if she's going 4th in a turn, right? Oh, never mind. After side team is defeated, exhaust this card. She doesn't even have to defeat the side scheme. And that's interesting. What is the point of... I don't really get what the point of the card like this. I guess it's just speed up the counters even more. I assumed it was like she had to defeat her side schemes, but no, I was reading that incorrectly at the beginning. To get even more counters. Yeah, I guess they say it right here. If a minion is a little too durable to take on in 1 turn, have Jess don her signature leather jacket. Oh, it's like Rogue's jacket. This is just give her stats. Plus 2 defense on an upgrade. After you defend, place 1 evidence counter on Alias Investigations. Wow, this character seems like it does a lot. Yeah, she's a 3/2/3 just with 1 upgrade. That is crazy. Like I don't even think she's like squishy in general. I mean, 1 defense can be kind of iffy, but 4 recovery is very good. Wow. Yeah, that is her leather jacket. Really, that's some crazy armor she's got on to give her plus 2 defense. I thought 1 would be fine. That's wild. And then she gets stuff for defending, so it's a way for her to lean into these defense builds, maybe some of these new 1 cost readies or something like that to just start stacking these evidence counters. Even with so many ways of adding evidence counters to Alias Investigation, sometimes you may not be able to build them fast enough to your liking. I agree. I think that might be a problem, especially with high HP or 4-player health pools. When that happens, you can always spend some of these counters to deal with deal with the villain's forces the old-fashioned way, such as with the card Big Mistake. So there are ways to spend these counters, so it is a secondary resource, kind of like the Ironheart counters. You see Ironheart in this picture right here. So let's see what ways we can spend them. One cost event, Big Mistake. Hero action attack. Deal 3 damage to an enemy. You may remove one evidence counters to deal 2 additional damage for this attack to gain overkill or piercing. So I assume that the cost to add the evidence counters to give a buff to these cards would be kind of high. Spending one evidence counter that you're just going to be building up anyways when you activate means that she's going to have extremely efficient events. One cost for 5 damage with overkill. Oh, overkill or piercing is still really strong. You mess with the wrong lady, Jessica Jones. She just seems really strong. Letting punch the villain really hard, or Jess's 4K digital camcorder. Item, she has 2 items in her kit. Alter Ego action, exhaust this card and choose a non-elite minion. Remove X evidence counters from melee investigations, or X is equal to 2 less than the minion's remaining hit points. Discard that minion. Gotcha, Jessica Jones. So she has a way in Alter Ego to deal with minions on the board, which is pretty interesting. This is one of the more niche cards in her kit for sure. Let me discard pesky minions for play. If things get especially dicey, you can have Jess call in favors to grab an ally from her deck. If calling in favors, another Alter Ego card supported. Again, all of these being Alter Ego actions doesn't really matter because she gets a free flip down and gets to go right back up. She has really crazy stats, so you probably want to be in hero form most of the time. Remove 2 evidence counters from Alias Investigations and exhaust calling in favors. Search your deck for an ally and play it as if it were in your hand. What? Reducing its cost by 2. This is crazy. Sometimes I read these cards that they create these days. Wow. Again, the evidence counters, you know, my problem was that it wouldn't build out fast enough. You're never actually defeating the villain. You can't actually tap it to deal damage, right? It has to be it has to actually defeat the current stage, right? But I don't think you're ever going to be doing that with this hero. It really doesn't look like it. You're just going to be spending for these effects that are really strong, such as getting extra damage on your attack or playing allies. Okay, it is only deck, so they did hold themselves back a little bit, but you can play like this Spider-Man Peter Parker ally now for like 2 cost, and if you play 2 allies, I mean, this is a 1 cost support, and again, technically spending these counters is a cost, but even with normal amount of readies and side schemes being cleared in general, you're gonna have probably way more than you can even spend in a turn. I'm just kind of guessing here, and it seems very strong. So just a crime fighting partner, one of the allies, Luke Cage. So I assume this is their signature ally. Got Luke Cage, 3 cost, 3 defense, toughness, action, exhaust Luke Cage and deal 1 damage to him. Give him a tough status card. He may have skin like steel, but he's got a heart of gold. Jessica Jones, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense. This is essentially like a outlet for survivability, right? So you're not going to be able to do this on the villain phase. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, this timing that he has to exhaust and deal damage to him and give him a tough seems really kind of slow. You're going to play him, he's going to have his tough. If you want him to chump block for you, he's going to be exhausted through the villain phase. Then you have to, through the player phase, and you have to wait a whole nother turn and either choose not to chump with him or not. Then you have to go to the next turn and exhaust for a tough. And then the villain phase, you can block. So it's like over 6 turns, he can be 3 blocks. Or over 2 turns, he can be 2 blocks. That's a really interesting dilemma. Yeah, this is an interesting ally. I wonder. Yeah, the exhaust is definitely the harder part of that. I would say it's probably one of the weaker signature allies, unless I'm missing something. But again, I think the rest of this kit looks really crazy, and I don't think she even needs an ally like this with a hero card that reads crazy. I don't know. This hero reads a bit strong to me for sure. Just kind of the stats being what they are. We got new Justice cards here. So Jessica Jones already has plenty of potent tools in her signature kit. Yeah, you tell me about it. That doesn't mean she won't appreciate extra assistance from elsewhere. That's where the rest of her pre-built Justice that comes in. So I wonder what this is going to be built around. I hope there's like kind of a new archetype they're trying to do, but let's see. Her best friend, Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers, Aerial Avenger. I really love this art. 2 thwart, 3 attack, 3 help. After Captain Marvel enters play, discard the top 4 cards of your deck. If you discard a printed lightning resource, remove 2 threat from a scheme. If you discard more than 1 printed lightning resource, also confuse an enemy. Seems like a really good. First thing I think of is Wonder Man, right? Anytime these energy resources are in play, so you can confuse and remove 2 threat from the scheme. Seems pretty efficient, and she can come in and thwart for like 6. So if you think about it, it's like 4 for 8 threat removal, which is like pretty on rate, I think. And maybe you can get more out of this ally in different ways. Potentially remove threat and confuse just by entering play, which is, yeah, there's also the confuse is the big thing on this card because Dazzler also calls for, and she just confuses. So if your deck is built in a way that you can actually take advantage of this, yeah, the Confuse could be pretty strong. While Squirrel Girl calls on her little helpers to clear the last threat off. Oh, we have a Squirrel Girl for schemes? No shot. Doreen, what fun art. After you play Squirrel Girl from your hand, place one Squirrel counter on here for each card in your hand to a maximum of 4. Action, remove one Squirrel counter from here, remove one threat from a scheme. Okay, so it's not from every scheme, but you can remove these counters as much as you want. So this is like a 4 Justice, right? This is, she can thwart for technically 6 at her best with her 4 counters and 2 activations. That is a really strong ally, it seems like. That's very cool. And it's not like a limited once return action, so you can just use all the counters. It can help you hit those kickers for the Justice cards coming in. Daredevil, I want you to remove exactly from a scheme. Very, very cool. By hosting a strategy session, all right, let's see what this is. Strategy session 1 cost event. This is hopefully something new. It's a tactic card, so we got Cyclops, but it's not an upgrade. So tactic and thwart. Choose a player to search your deck for a player side scheme and add it to your hand. Okay, so we have more player side schemes searching other than just what's it called? Manifold. Hero action thwart, remove 3 threat from a player side scheme. So it's kind of a give and take. You take a 1 resource hit to find a player side scheme of your choice, or you can choose in hero mode to be a really efficient thwart card, but only for player side schemes. Now, do I think this card is kind of like a suit up, but for player side schemes? I wonder if there's a way that they could have made a suit up like they have for allies, but for player side schemes, like find a side scheme and find an attachment that can be put on that side scheme. This is kind of almost that card. You take a resource hit to find a player side scheme that you really want to clear. She doesn't have the Avenger trait, but I can see this going really crazy in someone who can clear tons of threat, like with an Evaluate threat or something like that. Someone who has the Avengers trait to get the whole table kind of running very quickly. What an interesting card. That's pretty interesting for sure. I think it's going to be really strong for Cable, maybe on his first turns if he wants turns to be able to clear Evaluate threat as the first player. That could definitely help him hit those numbers. Searches their deck. Oh, it's also only their deck, or remove some threat from one that's in place, such as run them to the ground. All right, let's see this. Got a new one. Run them to the ground. Spider-Man and Daredevil, what a cool piece of art. Victory 0, 1 defeated, resolve each of the following. What the hell? Skip the next villain phase. Deal each player 1 face down encounter card immediately. The villain until the start of the next the villain cannot take damage until the start of the next unskipped villain phase. What? Whoa, this is crazy. That is so you cancel a whole phase of activations. You also can't deal the villain any damage, but you get a whole turn to build for free. You still get the encounter cards, but he doesn't do activations, and you get a whole set of cards. Is this worth a side scheme that you clear for 16th and 4th player? I think this effect is super strong. If people need to build, if people need that room to build, this can be very, very strong. That being said, the build out has to be worth the double encounter cards that are coming up. Wow, what an interesting design for a card. I don't know if this will ever really see play. It might be one of those things that get put down. It costs 0, so it's easy to get down. That gets cleared over time with like an even the odds or something. What an interesting way to design a card. I don't know if that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Piecing it all together, we have another Jessica Jones card. Again, we have our own personal side scheme. Daredevil has one, so does Jessica Jones. This text getting a bit tight in this box up here, so, you know, let's see. Sometimes you take a step back to look at the big picture, and it all falls into place. The scheme does not count against the player side scheme limit. That might be the first time we see that text. Maybe Daredevil's one had it. When defeated, the defeating player draws 3 cards. Wow, that's very strong for something that comes down for 0. She has a thwart of 3, so she uses just her normal basic, you know, activation, her 0 cost ready to clear, and she draws 3 cards. Seems really strong to me. Don't forget that the defeating player's side scheme still counts for the evidence counters. Wow, yeah, that's crazy. So she gets like a counter for thwarting it ready, another counter for thwarting it, then 2 more. So she goes up 4 counters here from clearing the side scheme, and then draws 3 cards, which is like a net. If you played both of those cards from your hand, you're still netting 1 card and 4 counters just for doing that. Seems very, very strong. On the topic of player side schemes, defend our city comes with a new prerequisite keyword. Prerequisite? What the heck is this? Defend our series, 0 cost side scheme. I assume this has to deal with defenders because it has a prerequisite keyword. Hinder 1 per player, 3, and the star icon. So it comes in with 4 players at 7 threat. When defeated, each player may search their deck and discard pile for a team-up card and add it to their hand. Till the end of the phase, reduce the cost to play each team-up card by 1. I assume the Defender's team-up card will be very lax in the wording, but maybe not. But this is very interesting. It's team-up card searching, which can be very good, especially if you have like a Shuri and T'Challa on the table, or Nick Fury and Maria or something like that with the really strong team-up cards, or Groot, Rocket or something like that. It could be pretty cool. The new prerequisite keyword, which just creates either form your identity must be in or a trait your identity, which dictates either the form your identity must be in or a trait on your identity must be able to play it. In Defend Our City's case, if your hero has a defender trait, when it's defeated, you can only play it if your hero has a defender trait. So I guess you don't need to actually be in the hero side. Your hero side just needs to have the defender trait. I hope I'm reading that right. When it's defeated, each player can search your deck for a team-up card and gain a discount on it for the rest of the phase. So I guess it's a new keyword for the thing that's written on like evaluate threat. They found a new keyword to actually write this out, that you need this trait in order to play this card. When defeated, each player can search the deck for a team-up card and gain a discount for the rest of the phase. Naturally, this applies to Jess's own team-up card, Unbreakable Bond. So we get maybe a sneak peek at Luke Cage here. Unbreakable Bond. Team up Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, max 1 per deck. Your action Thwart. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Heal a total of 3 damage among Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Seems just like a very efficient Thwart card. 1 for 3 is a very good rate, and you get some survivability out of it. Seems really good. Especially if the new team-up rules work as they do, and they're Jessica Jones and Luke Cage just on both sides, meaning that it doesn't really matter what side you're in, you're able to proc this efficient thwart and heal. Keep the thwarting momentum going. So you get momentum. The new Joys of Life event can ready almost anyone at the table. Thanks to the Alliance keyword. Joys of Life is a new basic card here, which is exciting. 0 cost event, Alliance. Choose exhaust a civilian alter ego identity, ready a hero or ally. Exhaust a hero or ally, ready and a civilian alter ego. So you can, like, if you don't need your activation, you can kind of swap your activation for someone. Will this be played? I'm not sure. Can ready just about anyone on the table thanks to the Alliance keyword, throwing any player to pay its character exhaustion costs. Oh, that's a very clever use of the word Alliance here. Wow, that is very, very clever. I like that you can only rest a hero. Oh, you can exhaust a hero or ally. That's really interesting. It's kind of like a mini Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but there's a bit more nuance to it. So let's say like we have a lot of civilians, maybe like I think Wonder Man's a civilian. We've got I'll use my brain goes to Wonder Man. We got Nova as a civilian. A lot of maybe some of the defenders will be civilians. So if you're doing like an Earth's Mightiest Heroes run, but you don't draw into it, maybe you can play this card. To rest the ally when you flip down and ready you an alter ego and let you recover, do something. That's interesting. I think that one is going to be interesting to get to work, especially in like in multiplayer games. The Alliance keywords can make some interesting kind of things. Jessica can flip freely to alter ego once per round. She can pay for or benefit from either option. Jessica free flipping the alter ego once per round. She can pay for or benefit from either options, and even if you choose to exhaust her, a grapnel launcher can still let her contribute to some thwarting. What is this? It's an item restricted. We have a new justice item. Discard this card. Make a basic thwart without exhausting, even if you are exhausted. Okay. For this thwart, your hero gets +1 thwart and ignores the crisis. Ignores the patrol keyword and crisis icons in play. This is a really interesting card. Again, this is one of those things of the idea of saving thwart, right? So if your hero has a good enough thwart stat, this is above rate, which Jessica Jones definitely does. 3 thwart goes to 4 with this card, and it only ever gets buffed by like heroic intuition and heroic conditioning and whatnot. This could be a really efficient kind of thwart outlet when you actually need it. You kind of save it up for a turn. It's an upgrade. It sits on the table, and then you discard it and you do your big thwarting. Very interesting. Now, does it make sense over something like an operative skill, which also costs 2 and is impermanent and buffs 3 of your thwarts instead of 1? That's a question you'll have to think about, but I think this is definitely cool. It would kind of sad that this isn't a tech card. It might have some synergy with like a Shuri or something like that. This looks like a tech card to me, but again, this is not a Justice deck. We're not doing any sort of repurpose shenanigans unless we're Spider-Woman, so maybe it's not a huge deal. Finally, though, Jess can end pretty much any player phase in hero form if you want to. Whenever you do enter the villain phase in alter ego form, you can still punish the bad guys for scheming. Okay, so if you don't want to flip back up, she does have cards for it, with some skilled entrapment. Oh, okay, this is a justice card. Entrapment is a preparation card. One cost prep card, max one per player. Alter ego response attack. After the villain schemes change to here. Oh my gosh, is this like ready for a fight in justice? Let's see this. After the villain schemes, change to hero form and discard this card. Deal damage to the villain equal to the amount of threat placed by that activation. Wow, this seems like a really efficient damage card in Justice. If you're spending a turn down and they scheme for really big, it's kind of an alternative to that psychic manipulation, which it removes threat. This can be a really big attack onto a villain, and you can even like plan around this. Max one per player is a good thing here because if you're just stacking these up and you trigger them, you know, I guess you couldn't trigger them. What's it called? You couldn't trigger them one after another because it forces you to change the hero form. But like even like a Venom scenario, someone that stacks up a really big scheme or there's a really big threat threshold, you get a big hit here. Well, let's go in every Justice deck? No, but I'm sure there's going to be some Justice decks that want to cheat their flip. And this is a way to cheat their flip in a term that's really fun. I can see this being awesome. Now Justice She-Hulk, again, I'm thinking of my favorites here. Now Justice She-Hulk gets a way to kind of flip up and save her HP because it's after the scheme. So like you flip up, you get to deal like 6 damage, then 2 more with your flip ability. Go down and reset this. There's no kind of cost associated with, you know, there's no resource requirement or anything. So it's just a really efficient attack event if the villain is scheming high enough to make it efficient, which I assume that most villains will scheme for about 3 on average. So at, you know, at 4 damage or 5, this is very good, and it lets you cheat a flip. With all these tools in her belt combined with her own inherited skills, no villain scheme will come to fruition while Jessica Jones is on the case. We have this art here, which is very cool. I assume that Alias Investigations snooping around. All right. With her versatile access to alter ego form and Alias Investigations allowing her to take the villain down in a new and unique way, Jessica Jones is a potent hero and a powerful addition to any team. Look forward to taking on Kingpin and his criminal empire as Jessica Jones when the Jessica Jones Hero Packs arrives this August. And you can pre-order it on the website today. Thanks, Peter. So we did know this article was coming today. Didn't make me any less tired, but wow, this is really interesting. My first impressions is that Jessica looks really strong. Just the stats on her card are really strong. The fact she has a really efficient ready already built into her kit, and she has multiple hooks for like defending and whatnot. Like she gets double. If you think about this, her main way of getting her counters are side schemes being cleared, but also with the leather jacket down, she gets the same amount now from just basic defending for people, right? It's not even basic defending, right? It's just when she defends after you defend, right? So this is only for her basic power. So again, it is an incentive to basic defend because now her basic defense are getting 2 alias counters on her, which she can use and spend for exciting abilities. I wonder if she'll have any more ways to spend these evidence counters, any more ways to gain them and manipulate them. But as it stands, Alias Investigation seems like a very strong thing to start and play that just builds damage for her over the course of the game. Maybe I'm overselling it a bit, but for recovery with 11 hit points and this stat line seems really crazy. I would have assumed like maybe, I don't know, 2-2-1, but that, yeah, she seems very strong. The 3 thwart is especially strong, especially with built-in really efficient readies. You can get the heroic conditioning, the heroic intuition down, and I assume she's probably going to come with one of those setup justice cards that'll buffer thwart step by 1 as well if you know, Echo's kind of starting card is anything to go off of. So yeah, she just looks very, very strong to me on a first impression. So we'll just have to see how it shakes out at the end of it, but she definitely looks exciting. She looks strong. What do you guys think about Jessica Jones? Let me know in the comment section down below. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Great rest of your day. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye.